All right. Well, welcome to another Bright News podcast and discussion. And I'm here with my friends, Shane Kennedy and Nico Galliano. So how you guys doing, man?
Excellent,
I've
brother. How
been
you
better.
doing?
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. So, today we're going to talk about something that, is, I'm sure, on everybody's mind. Something that happened recently, and that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So, we'll just start out. This is not a formal thing. Just, we just kind of want to talk about, what happened and maybe get our takes and feelings on that. And just uh maybe remembering a someone who fought very hard for maybe what some might call the soul of this country, right? And so I'll open up the discussion, uh, and let you guys kind of say your piece and everything, and then we can just roll with it. We just roll like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nico?
No, you start us off, brother.
Right. Um, I guess I think especially for anybody that saw the assassination video yesterday, which that's how I found out about it. I was scrolling through X trying to figure out like what was going on in the world, and I had known that there was a whole thing with the Russian drones in Poland, and the Polish government were invoking Article 4 of NATO. And so I'm scrolling through X, and all of a sudden I see one of the goriest videos I think I've ever seen in my life. One of the most horrific videos I think I've ever seen in my life. And honestly, and it threw me back. And honestly, at first I thought and kind of hoped it was AI. And then immediately I went over and looked to see what was trending on X. And also too, I figured I was like, well, this is what I'll do to see if this is actually happening or not. Drudge Report has become kind of like normie conservative, and even a little bit like normie centrist liberal, kind of, depending on what's going on over there. And they had nothing on there about Charlie Kirk, so I thought, oh, this video probably is AI. And at that point, I went back to Twitter. I went to the trending headlines, and Charlie Kirk was everywhere on there. And all of a sudden, I started seeing this. There was like a flash flood of videos from the event, of people posting videos of that old man named George Zinn, who was arrested, who was making a big old scene, yelling like "shoot me" or "arrest me" or something like that, and drawing a bunch of attention. Then I remember seeing like two or three different videos that people had taken of the rooftop where the sniper was, of the sniper walking to the spot that he would shoot it, that he would fire his shots from. And these people like that were kind of positioned, it kind of looked like, I mean, obviously none of us have been there, so we don't really know what the actual layout is, but it looked like somebody that was kind of to the side of the building, that was like looking up. And then it looked like there was somebody in another building, like across the other side of this large courtyard, the courtyard that Charlie Kirk was down at the base at, underneath the tent, engaging with people. And both of the videos show this guy just walking around on the rooftop. And I kind of think a lot of those people, they were looking up, and a lot of them were kind of flashing back, thinking back to when they shot Trump,
Mhm.
in Butler, Pennsylvania, thinking, well, this is kind of like that, where people captured videos of the assassin walking around on the roof and the Secret Service just doing nothing. And I kind of think that you had people in the crowd there that were flashing back to that, thinking, should is this supposed to be happening? Is this supposed to be happening? And then other people probably thinking, oh, that's probably a security guy. That's probably a security guy walking around to make sure that nobody goes up on the roof.
Okay.
And then but so those were like the secondary videos that I saw. The first video I saw, that's the way I learned about it, was witnessing the assassination.
Okay.
And that is, I mean, I don't know about you guys, and probably most people of our generation and most people that have seen that video, you're never going to be able to get that out of your head. That thing is going to live on forever.
Mm.
But something, and this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up, is you know, a death that gruesome is something that we can, that will be like a scene from a horror movie or something if we allow it to be in our minds. But at the same time, I mean, I think we have to think about that video in terms, obviously try not to think about it, but if it's something you can't help but think about it in terms of Charlie Kirk's courage. Going in front of a crowd of thousands of people beneath a whole bunch of rooftops out in the distance, knowing that something like this could happen. If a sniper was able to get a shot off at the president, I'm sure in the back of Charlie Kirk's mind, or anybody that has done or does what Charlie Kirk continued to do, in spite of, Charlie Kirk was not in a position where he had to continue debating college students. Charlie Kirk was in a position he could have just continued. He could have sat back pretty, had a really, really nice life, never wanted for anything financially, and just continued to run his organization and just be the face of it, go do some interviews, continue doing his podcast, and really never be in a position where he has to debate another college student again. He did this because that's the way God created him. That's what God made him to do, and he did it. You know,
Mhm.
so I guess just to put a bow on it, just it was a gruesome death, but his courage and love for other people, which was not his own love, it was love that came from God, was far greater than the gruesomeness of his death.
Mm.
And if you have not seen the video, I would advise you don't watch it.
Mm.
And
Mhm. Yeah. Nico, you you want to say anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously yesterday, I got notified by, I believe, either Sebastian or you, Shane. I was at work.
okay,
And at first I was like, what? And then yeah, I saw the video. Um, and Not to get too detailed, as soon as I saw the video, the guys at work, I was like, dude, he's not
yeah,
surviving that. I mean, it was gruesome.
Mhm.
Um, and then I just started praying. They said he was in critical condition, and they had him trying to stabilize him. And I mean, you could see pretty instantly it was graphic.
yeah,
Um, and all I could do was just pray at that point. Charlie Kirk, I'm a big Michael Knowles guy. I'm a big Matt Walsh guy. Charlie Kirk, always respected him. Um, Obviously, I agree with him more than I disagree with him on a majority of things, but he was never, got my top three after those two guys. So I watched a lot of his content, agreed with him on the majority of stuff. And this is the first time in a while, like any loss of life like this that you see that's broadcast. It's obviously traumatic and sad, and everyone. This one just feels different. And I don't know why it is. Maybe it's because like I said, I consume so much of his content, but this one just feels like out of all the people, not that anyone should be, but that all the people you go to, they purposely pick someone that had the ear of the youth in a certain direction. This is a guy that openly would be like, "Hey, let's talk about it. You have your opinion, I
mhm,
have my opinion. Let's talk." You would see him, of course, tongue in cheek, sometimes getting cheeky with people, but it was always good natured. It was always in good faith, always. And he would spread Christianity, and I truly believe that it was pure evil that tried to silence him, and I truly believe that they did the complete opposite. I think that his words will echo. Um, yeah, I think will echo for quite a while, and I think it ignited a fire in especially like I said, the younger demographic of the conservative movement. And it's just sad to see, man. I mean, this guy's younger than we are. What was he, 31?
Yeah.
The
So yeah.
kids, wife, everything he's done, he's been so gracious.
Mhm.
Um, it's just it's a tough one, man. And I've been kind of looking at the other guys, um, like even Ben Shapiro and stuff like that, and they said Ben Shapiro came out and said that they will not allow this to detour them. They're going to use this. They're going to pick up his microphone and they're going to make that the flame that carries them forward.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, man. This one's tough. This one just feels bad, real bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it reminds me of that. There's a Bible verse, and I forget what book it is. It might be in Acts, or it might, I'm not sure, but I remember there's a passage in there talking about how I think it was Peter and Paul, or Peter and someone, and they had went to the temple and they were trying to preach, and they went to the Sanhedrin. I think that's what it called, the
Hmm.
Sanhedrin or the Knesset or whatever it is. And there was a
Paul was a member of the Sanhedrin.
was he? Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So they had went to the temple, and they were preaching, and there was a rabbi, or like a, something like that, one of those scholars or whatever. And he came and he told the Knesset, he said, uh, if if God is with them, there's nothing you can do to stop it, right? If God is not with them, then that will show in their fruits. But if God is with them, you cannot do anything. You cannot stop them, you know. And I think this is one of those moments, brother. No matter
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try to put fear in someone like that, right? I think I think the Christian faith, it kind of leads you into this moment of courage. You know what I mean? And you're right. Like, I mean, he was 31. He was a millennial like us. And I think for us as millennials, we remember assassinations and stuff for what they were in, say, the 1960s, right? Like what they were during the height of the Vietnam War, and civil rights movement, and all of that, right? The Cold War and everything, and remembering people who actually they were in their 30s too when they were assassinated, right? Kennedy, I believe, was in
Hmm.
his 30s. King was in his 30s, and I also believe Malcolm X and Medgar Evers were in their 30s when they passed, right? And so you just kind of remember that history, and then seeing or hearing and reading something like this. I think I told you, Shannon, it kind of reminds me of, like, we're kind of re how do we know we're not reliving the 1960s all over again? You know what I mean? With all
Yeah.
chaotic sort of, or what seems to be chaotic, or seems to be a very confusing time, right? And are we sort of in that stage again, where you have a lot of charismatic young men and women, right, who are willing to go out there and actually just speak, with courage and charisma, and the belief that Christ is with us, right? And
Yeah.
that, like, we're living. I think the church says, like, we're living in the age of the Holy Spirit, right? And
Hmm.
I think a lot of young people, they're just on fire for that, man. They believe that we're living in an age where, what they say, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against evils and principalities, or something like
Hmm.
that.
Spirit, I think Spirit and Principalities or something, or
Yeah,
yeah, something like that.
yeah, and so um, for him to be the age he was and to really take on that sort of mantle and to say, I'm gonna, go out there and I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna share my views and I'm gonna tell the people about Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Which, at the time and even right now seems very it's like, oh well, that's not fashionable, that's not cool, whatever. But he was like, no, yes, it is cool. Okay. And this is
Hmm.
the foundation. This is the foundation of this country and our people. And they need to know about Christ. They need to know that this country is founded on the teachings of Christ, right? And he was a forerunner for talking about how college was a scam.
Yeah.
He said it was a scam. And I think a lot of people caught on to that sort of after the fact, right? After they had gone to college and ended up with a lot of debt, right? But him, he did not, he went to college, but he dropped out and
Hmm.
started his own, he started his own thing, the Turning Point and everything, you know, and then he started doing this. And I want to say Charlie Kirk, this is sort of his, where he was at the time when he was talking. He was sort of at a very like a pinnacle or a peak moment, in his career, right?
Yeah.
Because he was doing this years back. I think when we were like in high school, he
Like
started
I
teaching.
think he started. I think Turning Point USA. I could be wrong on this, but I think he started it in like 2011 or 2012,
Okay.
or or
Right.
or at least that's when they started going to the college campuses.
Right.
And
Right.
and one of the first people he started working with was Candace Owens.
Okay. I did
You
not know
know,
that. Yeah.
that's how she became a public figure, was because of Charlie Kirk.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he started right when we were either in college or just about to get out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So and there's this, whether you agreed with him or not on you know various issues. um I think it's kind of like, well, that's sort of beside the point right now. Like, you know it's not right for anyone to lose their life like this. You know what I mean? Especially someone who was fighting for a good cause. you
Yeah.
know it's very, I mean, it's, and it is sort of like surreal, because I don't think that, you know we were all sort of when we were in high school and in early college. We grew up with the, I don't know if you guys remember the four horsemen. um and okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. With
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you got for us? Load it up, man.
Yeah, so I've got a 2 minute video of Candace Owens, um, just kind of like discussing her life and experience with Charlie Kirk, just kind of like her take on his life. It's from her the podcast that she released today, September the 11th.
Mhm.
And she kind of spends the podcast. The way I would describe it is it's kind of like her, it's sort of like her eulogy of Charlie Kirk's life, and the two of them were really really close. The two of them, she describes it as the two of them having kind of a relationship the way that siblings would have. Like she was like an older sister to Charlie Kirk, and the two of them, she actually shows a lot of text message threads between the two of them where he would send her like a picture of him in a suit or something, and would ask her, hey, does this look good on me? and
Yeah.
then and then she would send him a text back and say, no, that looks awful on you, you need to change the color, or you need to change the fit or something like that, or like sunglasses, and
They were
you
very
know,
close, right?
it
Very
extremely.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, like they literally traveled the world together.
Yeah.
When Turning Point USA was first starting, and
Mhm.
and then and then eventually Candace Owens started the Blexit movement, And
Yeah.
then after that is when she went to Daily Wire, and then after Daily Wire, she criticized a group of people you're not allowed to criticize, and then she got canned, and then she went off on her own.
Mm,
Um,
Excuse
mhm.
yeah.
which, which people? I'm unfamiliar with this.
We're not going there because we don't want to put Bright News in danger.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, all
Aha!
right. Here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Do you guys see Candace?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Now I do.
and okay, all right, perfect. And if you're not able to hear the audio, just let me know. Okay.
Okay.
things my way. And I think, um, in the end, Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation. I don't think it, I know it. He was going through a lot, and there was a lot of pressure. And it's hard for me to watch the people who were pressuring him, I don't know, just say the things that they're saying. You know, there's something about it that just feels really fake, to me. And they would have allowed him to lose and wanted him to lose everything for changing or even slightly modifying an opinion. And then to see them doing what they're doing today, it's hurtful to me. It's very hurtful to me. But I don't want today to be about anything other than you guys knowing that Charlie really was an amazing person. You know, he was like, we were really close. And he was my best friend and my brother. And I will never unsee the footage of what I saw, the violence of it. I pray for the people who took any pleasure in that. There's not a single person in the world that I would wish that on. And least of all, someone with a heart like Charlie's. He loved his family, he loved his wife, he loved his country. And he didn't deserve that ending. You know, he was really young. But I know that we will carry the torch. I will never allow the memory of Charlie to be forgotten, obviously, because there is no Candace without Charlie. You know, we came up in politics together. And so I don't know what else to say, guys, other than I'm in a lot of pain right now. And I love you, Charlie, and, you know,
Yeah.
I'll see you when I'll see you. I love you very much. Thank you, guys.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, what do Shane, what's your take on that, man? Like they were really so, they're
The
really close. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, in my opinion, her so the full her full podcast from today, in my opinion, was the best recount of Charlie Kirk's life that I've seen yet. And I've seen a lot of people talk about Charlie Kirk. I've seen Tim Pool has put out a couple of videos, him talking about Charlie Kirk. You know, he had a lot of interactions with him. I've seen like Steven Crowder. I've seen a lot of people come out and talk about their interactions, like Steve Bannon. I've seen a lot of people come out and talk about the kind of like quiet, intimate moments that they had with Charlie Kirk, and just what a the amount of character the guy had, and what a kind person he was, even when he stood to gain nothing from them, you know. And you know what Candace captures in the especially in the first half of her podcast is she kind of goes through a bunch of like little stories. She even shows videos from like 10, 15 years ago of she and Charlie like goofing around, like listening to Kanye West and like Kanye West music and getting all pumped up before they would go out on stage to debate somebody or to deliver a speech or something. And especially for people our age, they're the timelines kind of line up for people our age, because when they were their ages in those videos 10 or 15 years ago, that's approximately around the age that any of us would have been at that time.
Mhm.
So when you hear that, when you see them in the car rocking out to like Homecoming by Kanye West. I don't know if anybody knows that song. Or to like Jay-Z or something like that. It really brought me back, and it got me, I don't know, it just in many ways, we are all products of the same time, of the same time period, and that's a connection that we will always have to Charlie Kirk, that somebody who is substantially older or substantially younger won't. And that's a sad thing, because he really seemed to be such a kind person and a good person who loved God, his family, and our country. And our country is falling apart because there aren't enough people like him around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll shut up.
Sorry, brother.
Hey,
Yeah.
quick correction. Like Charlie Kirk and I could have went to high school together. When he was in 5th grade, you would have already been done with high school. So you were not the same age. Charlie Kirk and I were close in age. You were
Oh,
not.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so here, let me correct my statement. So Charlie Kirk was 31, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Candace Owens, I think, is like 37 or something now. So you have to remember something, that the age difference between Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk is about, it's like 5 or 6 years.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is, when you see both of them in the videos,
Yeah, yeah.
both of
Okay,
them
yeah.
together approximates
Okay.
to all of us. And
Right.
Okay.
They were
and I
both.
just kind of figured that was a given, but I guess for you, I had to spell it out I had to spell it out for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were making it sound like we were all close to Charlie Kirk's age, and I'm like, I am. You guys were not. So,
So that's a load of garbage.
well, we're all millennials, right?
That's right.
That's something we have in common, and I'm sure Charlie Kirk probably would have got a kick out of this. Um, but man, for me, dude, it's like, it's like you see all the comments and stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have tried to avoid looking at anything or videos, comments, anything, even from the president. Like, because this whole thing is like very loaded with a lot of emotion, right? And a lot of people got a lot of stuff to say, man. And some of it, it's like, I don't know where your head is at, with all this, but
Well, they got their head up
some
somewhere
of
that
it,
it shouldn't be, you know?
and I just feel like, I think it's like, bro, this is the time and this is the hour to whatever evil is plaguing this country, bro. I think this moment just set the tone for how people who are on the side of Christ are going to move. And you know, all these people that have been around for a long time, people like Alex Jones and even Nick Fuentes and Ben Shapiro and whatever, dude, you know, they just lit a match, you know, and I think this is a moment that you're gonna see a lot of people coming to the Lord.
Mhm.
Because and I say this, man, and this is not even like a thing where I'm trying to be theological. There's nothing out there. And I'll tell you something else. If that's what's out there, right? Uh, I don't think you shouldn't want any part of that, right? Because my thing is, man, I don't care how much you disagree with somebody in a conversation or how they think in their mind. That does not give you the license to think that or believe that a person should be liquidated for that.
Yeah.
And that is, it's for me, that is the thing that I think it just, I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a surreal thing, man, because yes, he is our age. He's our generation. And I think even if you did not know him, and even if you disagree with him, that's still I think that hits at every millennial living right now. Because you know, at such a I mean, at such a young age, man, it's to die like that, bro. It's just I don't know what to say, and I wasn't gonna talk like say this kind of stuff because I don't want to start getting emotional and all that, right? You know, but I went to the mass yesterday, you know, to pray for him and his family. Uh, because man, it's crazy that I think it's crazy, bro. I think this is crazy. I think it's crazy, man. Like you do all this work, dude, to try to help people see things, that they don't see or they wouldn't understand, and then you get killed for it, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is like it's a young man who's trying to do the right thing. He was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to do the right thing, dude. That's crazy. You know? Like he lost his life trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, and to Candace Owens' point, brother, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's an emotional subject, obviously. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's he's a young man, and he was a good man, a true good man. And I couldn't agree with Candace Owens more. It the difference between the right and the left, right, is when these atrocities are done in the name of the right by complete lunatics, like everyone knows they're crazy psychopaths, the right condemns it, right? Like they'll be like, dude, don't do that in the name of the right. These guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely right. The left almost defends it, and even when they come out, right, and they'll come out with their half-hearted attempts and be like, oh, even if you disagree, this thing, it doesn't feel genuine. And I believe I don't want to misquote Charlie Kirk, but I think I'm almost positive I heard him say once, and I hope it was Charlie Kirk. I don't want to misrepresent him. That he said at the end of the day, the problem with the left is that they truly deep down inside are violent people. Like they will resort to the sword, is what I believe he said, and I don't want to misquote him, like I said, and they do, man. That's always the difference. They will always come up with an excuse for extremism on their side of something the right did, or they'll try to like, well, there's reasons for it. Doesn't matter. You took a life. Like there's no reason to take a life because you disagree with someone about politics.
Mhm.
And this guy, like I said, he was openly dialogue. He would allow anyone to come up there. Even I've seen it with the rudest people. He let them skip the line, come to the front, and he'd be like, "Hey, you felt the need to call out and do all this stuff. These people have been waiting in line for hours. But since you thought it was so important, why don't you come to the front? Tell us all what you're thinking." And he would converse with them in good faith. And that's never reciprocated by the left. They're
Yeah.
intolerant people. And it's wild that
Mhm.
this would happen. And the aftermath of people is sickening on the left of some of the stuff I've seen posted. I I hope, I hope we are all judged by our standards, because man, that is it's heartbreaking to see some people's empathy.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shane, you want to say something, man?
Yeah, so I actually have I didn't know, would you guys want for me to pull up some pictures? I'm not showing the video of
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not showing the
Yeah.
video of the assassination. But
Yeah.
would you guys want to see like we can kind of paint the picture of what happened from the point of view of like the images of the sniper up on the rooftop.
Mhm.
And then we can also
Yeah.
look at the very suspicious George Zinn, the old man, who was a part of a tribe, and he attracted a lot of attention, and just made a big scene,
Mhm.
and I'd like to point those things out, and then for us to discuss, kind of dig a little bit deeper into what, maybe we can put on our tinfoil hats and speculate a little bit as to what may have happened here. But I suppose just one thing I'd like to contribute before we move on to that is, um, that, kind of building on what both of you said, is that Charlie Kirk's highest principle was morality. You know, treating people right. And that was modeled for him by our Lord. What did Jesus say, that 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 the well are not in need of a doctor. It's sick people that are in need of a doctor, and he didn't come for those that are well. He came for those that were sick. And so, like, to go before them. Not in some abstract sense, or in some, or something, but like to physically go before them. And that's really the model that we're supposed to follow. and
Yeah.
and that's what Charlie Kirk did. And it's like I said before, he had no financial reason to continue going in front of these college students. He had every incentive in the world to stop doing that. To say,
Mhm.
well, that's what I did when I was starting my organization, and I moved on into like a higher leadership role now. And I believe the reason that he continued doing that is because he was following the model or he was imitating the model that was, demonstrated by our Lord, which is, you go to the people who need you, or the people that you believe need you, and you face them, they face you, and you
Yeah.
handle it with words, and you handle it with compassion, and you handle it with kindness. And it's just sad. The thing is, we are so blessed that we had someone like him, to look at as a model for how to go about engaging these kind of things. And in a way, because he died when he did, and under the circumstances he did, he'll never be forgotten.
Mhm.
This will always be the image that everybody remembers Charlie Kirk for, is engaging those that need him face to face, not writing a book and trying to sell them his book,
Yeah.
not just doing a podcast and saying, hey, just watch my podcast, but like
Right.
going face to face with them. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a totally, that's the way humans are meant to interact.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, and remember, Jesus said that the greatest of all virtues was charity. And when he says charity, he's not talking about making your donation to your local nonprofit organizations, making your donation to the United Way. That's not what Jesus is talking about. What he's talking about is, you assume the good in other people. Because it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter how wicked or depraved or whatever they are, or degenerate they are, they still have that spark of the divine in them.
Yeah.
There is still a goodness down in there,
Mhm.
and it needs to be fertilized, and it needs to be engaged. And sometimes it might need a little bit of toil and a little bit of work, you know. And some and with some people, you're never going to be able to cultivate it, but then with
Yeah.
others you will. and
Yeah.
and, and with others, maybe you will soften the ground for someone else. But
Yeah.
remember, one of the favorite, um parallels that the Lord likes to draw in the Gospels, he often likes to compare himself to a farmer.
Mhm.
And we're supposed to follow him, right?
Mhm.
And so in many ways, you think about the amount of seeds that Charlie Kirk sowed, and you think about the amount of ground in people that he softened, and the amount of gardens that he fertilized. And I think if any of us could come to can I think if any of us could accomplish like 1/10,000th of what he did, we're doing pretty damn good, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah. You
For
know,
sure.
what's the Bible verse it said, and I think it's in Isaiah. He said, "Who shall I send?" And then I think the Lord says, "Send me." You know,
mm,
and it's one of those things, man. You kind of it's like who's gonna go, right? Who's gonna go
yeah.
to preach the gospel, the good news, that the Lord is here, and and we're moving forward and stuff like that, man. And yeah, so that it's kind of like that gives you hope in a very just in what seems to be a very confusing moment right now. You know what I mean? And I just for me it's like he was just young, bro. He was a young man, and that should not, you know, he wasn't in the middle. It's not like he went off to war or anything. He went to a university to talk, and a dude couldn't stand him that much that he wanted to end his life. I just don't understand that. You know what I mean?
I want to
But
ask you guys. Go
yeah.
ahead, Trey. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm done. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you guys a question before we got into the
Mhm.
conspiracy theory parts of it, Shane.
Yeah.
He was a very young man, 31, right? With his trajectory, and I don't even know if he had these aspirations or not. This is hypothetical. I want your guys' opinion on this. With what he was able to accomplish, because he got into politics quite young. I mean, by 18, he was coming out the gate swinging, right? By 21, I
Mhm.
think he maybe 2021, I don't remember. He's written like 5 books. He's made his podcast. He started his movement. He's put in the work, like you were saying, Shane. I think what made him why he was the target, and guys like Matt Walsh, right? Said Matt Walsh has come out and his documentary set the world on fire, but there was never really
Big time.
like anyone coming for Matt Walsh. And then you got Slick Mickey, right? He goes to campuses and stuff like that too. Um, but I think they might have thrown like I don't know what they threw at him, but they threw stuff at Michael Knowles. I think Charlie Kirk was
Hmm.
truly dangerous to them because he did have the ear of
Hmm.
the youth, and his
Hmm.
compassion was so boundless, and he was very the way he presented things was very like an intellectual like to people, but he never talked
Hmm.
down to people. He always made, you know what I mean? It would bring him up.
Hmm.
Do you guys think that in 20 years, let's make him 51, right?
Hmm.
I truly think out of all of them, he's the only guy that had a potential to be a very big political figure if he chose to be.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a guy, his look, his mannerism, his action, his like Shane said, this guy didn't have to work, his
Yeah.
unwilling work. This is a guy that I truly think had a huge part in Trump getting reelected.
Hmm.
I think this is a guy. I think it's a safe thing to say. I want you guys to buy in on this. I think this is a guy that could have been a presidential nominee in 20 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that. I know he was. I mean, I can't say I know, but he seemed like the type that was, his whole thing was about shifting, the culture, in this country. And if he had not gone, if he wouldn't have gone into politics in the next, you know, 20 something years or whatever, he definitely would have taken over the what do you call it? The wavelengths or the rate, the media,
Mm.
and everything, as far as politics goes. Um, so yeah, yeah. Shane, you got the
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Nico, I agree with that 100%. That he is probably one of the people that would have been on the short list to be a front runner for probably for the, I mean, I'm guessing for the Republican Party,
Yeah.
in probably with I mean probably within the next decade and a half. Yeah,
Yeah,
because the thing is, he had the name recognition, he had the reputation, he also had the institutional backing, not from the insiders necessarily in the RNC, but institutional backing from institutions that he had built himself and collaborated to build.
Mm.
Really a very similar trajectory to Donald Trump.
I was about
Yeah.
to
Not being
say he didn't drink, he didn't smoke. The guy was committed to his work. He was
yeah,
religious. He was a Christian.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
telling you, dude, and the people that he was talking to were only going to grow up and become more mature, productive, invested members of society.
Mhm.
I think that this guy was dangerous
Mhm.
to their cause, and I think they killed him for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. I agree with that, man.
here, before we jump into the uh video, I do want to share this. Here, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Do we have any final thoughts on?
No, no, go. Go
Okay,
No.
Rob.
okay. So what I'm going to do is, okay, share my screen. For some reason, it's giving me a problem. Okay, there. All right, so share my screen. So actually, the first thing I want to show you guys is I'd kind of like for us to reflect on something here. Okay, so are you guys able to see this Twitter post?
Hmm.
All right, so this is a Twitter post from a Mises Institute scholar named Dr. Tom Woods. And this to me was the most, probably one of the most powerful tweets that I saw yesterday. And what he said was, "Enjoy your ghoulish celebrations now, savages, because mark my words, the next generation of right wingers will make you wish you had Charlie Kirk back." What do you guys think of that?
Can I say one thing, Shane?
Go.
Answering your question. If you recall, when we started getting really into politics, this was probably about 10 years ago, and I know you've heard me say this,
Mhm.
so you can vouch for it. I said, my biggest fear is that if you remember, Shane, we started off, we were Republicans, but we got real into the Tea Party, became kind of like libertarians, and then kind of came
Mhm.
back into the Republican fold. But we're like not big government and stuff like that. So we
Right.
kind of always been more conservative, though. And I said, my
Mhm.
biggest fear is that if the left keeps going into the extremism that they are, and they keep calling your average Americans monsters long enough and they treat them as so, they will become those monsters. And I agree with Thomas. Was it Thomas Woods right there?
Thomas Woods, and I'm sure you probably remember meeting him a few times, right?
Yes, yes.
We were at some events that he was also at, and
Correct.
we met him. I don't think he'd remember us, but
I no, he wouldn't remember us, but yeah, I
no.
agree with that statement. I'm My biggest fear is that the right will become they will wish that they had people like Charlie Kirk who are willing to come to the podium and talk it out. It, extreme is answered by extreme. Pendulums are always answered by pendulums like this, and I do not look forward to seeing
Yeah.
what will become of the Republican Party because
Well, and something that I was thinking about actually just a few minutes ago is the difference between a Charlie Kirk and, let's say, a Ben Shapiro or an Alex Jones is the heart.
yep,
A Ben Shapiro and Alex Jones, you're kind of dealing with a Tin Man there. Um, Alex Jones is going to be very hyper aggressive and can be and he can be kind of quick to anger and rage and stuff, and you never really know what he's going to say. And then Ben Shapiro is like he's very purely logical, and he'll start breaking stuff down and everything, and he'll use a bunch of philosophical arguments. Then he throws all logic out the window whenever it comes to supporting one certain country overseas. But but the you know Charlie Kirk had a heart, and would and what was actually dealing with the person in front of him. It actually makes me think of a clip of Charlie Kirk from the Whatever podcast. And this actually happened. This was actually he actually went on there several times. And he was dealing with corn stars. And, if you've ever seen the Whatever podcast, you've got people who I love, and I know you guys love, people like Andrew Wilson, that will go on there and just destroy them, and just deconstruct their entire worldview and everything, and just be like, you're destroying yourselves, you're destroying you're destroying men, and basically you've only got a matter of time until you're ugly, and then you'll just be an ugly loser, and that's the kind of thing that Andrew Wilson would say to them, and just annihilates them. But when and I've seen several clips from when Charlie Kirk went on the Whatever podcast, and what he would always remind them of is he would say, look, what you're doing is beneath you. You are daughters of God. Stop doing this. This is not what you were made for. And the thing is, that's because he was not deep. When he was looking at them, he was not destroying an intricate ideology, and when he looked at them, he was not destroying a complex network of ideas and viewpoints that they had in their minds, that Andrew Wilson would proceed to just annihilate by applying the laws of logic and metaphysics and all that kind of stuff. But Charlie Kirk would deal with them and just say, look, this is not what you were made for. Charlie Kirk would deal with them in a very loving, kind of fatherly way, in spite of him being younger or the same age as a lot of those people, as a lot of the corn stars on there. But I guess to me that's a perfect example of the difference between him and a lot of other kind of like conservative, like activists that would be in the conservative category, that would be categorized as conservative. And then, like, if Alex Jones were dealing with them, I'm sure he would just be like screaming at them and calling them all kinds of things, and telling them that they need to straighten up and everything. But it's just that is one way that Charlie Kirk was really one of a kind.
And I agree with you. The last thing that Charlie Kirk would want, for everything that he's ever said, would for his death to be the catalyst of a movement of violence in the opposite direction. He wouldn't want that. The problem is unfortunately at this time period, I mean, you can feel it in the air. There's tensions and they are high. And I believe the righteous you had an assassination attempt on a president of the United States. Well, he wasn't president at the time, but past president, during his election campaign. Look what they did to Charlie Kirk. Look what they've done to several speakers, attacking them in public. And it's only so long. And I know that's the last thing Charlie Kirk would want, is for them to use this as a jumping point to violence in the other way. But it is going to get to a point where, man, I don't know how much more before. The only difference between the left and the right is that when the right's angry, they don't go down and destroy people's personal property and burn down cities. I can only think of one event that people can point to, and I would disagree with it, and so would Charlie Kirk, because I literally heard his words on this. It was a small fraction of delusional extremists within the right, if you want to say it, on, what was that, January 1st or
6th?
January 6th. Sorry. Yeah, January 6th. That's the only point. The rest of those people were all invited in afterwards. They had nothing to do with the vandalism. But even then, that was a government building, which this country is built on revolt against governments. This country, it's in our blood to be rebellious. Okay. That is not what the left does. They destroy private property, they destroy cities. It's only a matter of time before the right's going to get fed up. And I that's what I'm saying. I don't want us to become that monster, but I don't see an alternative because we could say whatever we want and we can and like Charlie Kirk would be right now trying to spread the word of Jesus. There's a war and people unfortunately there's only one way to respond to war, and that's through force. And that's what really has me worried over the next 2 years, 3 years. And I think the conservatives will win the next election. And unlike the Democrats who held power for so long, in the last several movements all happen to be progressive over the last 30 years. And this is the first time it's been a regress, if you will, into traditional values. They can't handle it. They
Mm,
don't know how to
Yeah.
lose. And now
yeah.
that they're losing, this is their answer to it. And I'm really worried that violence will be answered with violence over the next 3 years.
Wow, man. I mean, yeah, that you think, yeah. I mean, I don't I hope it does not turn into that. You know what I'm saying? I really um
So
yeah.
I do have something that I am very concerned about with this entire situation, and this is something that I haven't really heard many people mention. I'm sure other people have thought of this, but I think it's something that we must keep at the forefront of our minds. Is there are a lot of other countries around the world, even countries that would consider themselves to be our allies, that would stand to gain a lot by there being a civil war in the United States. So there could be, we have intelligence operations in other countries, even in our allies' countries. They have operatives in our country. And the thing we have to be very careful of in situations like this, because America is, we are in a danger zone that we are in a possible powder keg type of a situation that could only take just one spark to spark some kind of large conflict. And what we have to ask ourselves is, who would be the victor in a situation like that? And the victor would end up being not any of the no nobody that would be fighting on the phalanx of either side.
No one in
So
America.
they would all be the ultimate losers in the end. And so this is the thing, and this is just something, just wargaming in my own mind, is, wouldn't it make a lot of sense if you were China and you know that the United States that if you decide that you're going to make a move on Taiwan, and you know that the United States, the minute that you look like you're going to make a move on Taiwan, that the United States are going to go in and intervene. Now, I'm not sold on. I'm not in favor of us intervening in a conflict like that to keep the Chinese from taking Taiwan. At the end of the day, to me, that's not really America first. We need to be considered about what's happening in our own borders. But I guess the thing I'm speaking to is the actual reality of what the policymakers who control the military in the country, what they believe. They believe that we should go and fight and die for Taiwan. So that's what the country would do. So if you're a country like China, and this could apply to several other countries around the world, you might be looking at a situation like this and you might say, "Ooh, if we could facilitate the assassination of a left-wing leader, and then make it look like it was somebody on the right, then maybe that could spark then that would spark some kind of possible retaliation. And if that doesn't work, then what we could do is facilitate the assassination of another conservative or right wing leader, and then try to make it look like it is the other side. And what they would try to do is try to use the populism that is really rising in America, on the left and on the right, and it manifests in different ways on both sides, but to try to take these populist factions that the United States is breaking down into, and you try to spark a conflict between them. And if they're all battling one another, then that opens up the opportunity for you, like, let's say if you're China, to be able to take Taiwan when America is in a weakened state. And then let's say you take Taiwan, maybe America would be in such a weakened state that you'd be able to land some ground forces on the West Coast.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
so the thing is, it is very important that we rise above the the more evil side of ourselves, and
mhm.
that's all of us, because there's nothing any of us humans love more than a scapegoat, right, Shannon? Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
but the thing is, that's the reason it's so important that we keep our focus on God, that we
Mm,
keep our focus on Jesus Christ on the cross.
yeah.
And we do not allow ourselves to start to scapegoat the other side. And that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
That goes for conservatives, liberals, progressives, libertarians, whoever. We have to rise above that. And the thing that I'm concerned about is, as Christianity has receded in America throughout our lifetimes and prior to our lives, um, the thing that concerns me is that even the cultural Christianity that used to serve as a buffer to a situation like what I'm describing, as that recedes, then the scapegoat mechanism could end up running rampant with a fury, and then before you know it, we'll all be scapegoating one another, and that could end up leading us into some kind of a civil into some kind of a civil war type of a situation. And then at that point, the American empire is over. And the thing is, at that point, people like the European Union, people like China, people like, and I'm talking even countries that are our allies, will say, well, we're going to send peacekeeping forces over to the United States to help maintain order, in our greatest allies' homeland or something. And once they land their troops here, those troops are never going to go away. And at that point, the entire order of the world is flipped, where instead of Fortress America never having any kind of foreign interference within our domestic realm, then every country in the world will try to have will try to have some kind of influence here, the way that we have influence all over the world with all of our bases in their countries.
Mm,
So we have to be very careful in the way we navigate this. And the things I'm saying, I think, are things that Charlie Kirk would be saying if somebody else had been killed,
mhm.
and Charlie Kirk were commenting on it. If I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
No,
It does.
100%.
I mean, um, and I didn't mean to bust out crying, bro. I was, I'm sorry. Because that, it's just, I think for me, it's just like the surreality, if that's a word, of it all. I think just,
Mm-hmm.
it sets you don't know how to think about it, because I mean, I didn't know Charlie Kirk, or anything
Right.
like that, but I knew, I watched him talk, what I'm saying? And I would listen to the things that he would say, and I didn't agree on everything, and I'm sure that, you know,
Right.
none of us, did, but he, man, I don't know if you guys remember that this old gospel song. He said, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. You know, if I
Mm.
die, let me die in the army of the Lord. You know, and I think it's just one of those things, man, where it's like you see the war footing and you're like, okay, Lord, if this is the way it's gonna be, you know, I gotta make a choice. And that's the one, man. I think that's like this is the hardest thing to say, okay, this brother, he laid his life down.
Yeah.
He was willing to lay his life down for Christ.
Yeah.
And you think about that. He's a younger man than me. Even though we're all millennials, he's a younger man than me, and he had great courage. And
Yeah.
I don't I don't know if I would be willing to do something like that and to and to and to and to and and to have that kind of courage. I pray that the Lord gives me the strength to have that. You know what I mean? But you know, I think this is the only thing that Christians and people who believe in what he was doing, I think the only way that this is gonna things will be healed, you know what I'm saying, in this country and everything, is if Christians and conservatives continue to say, you know what, you know, it's all for Christ. And if it's my life, that's, you know what I'm saying? Even me saying it is just like, I don't know, bro. It's just, you know, even being willing to lay my life down to spread the good news. Um, you know, Rene Girard say, he would say, uh, Christians, we all believe in Christ. We all believe that Christ is the Son of God, but none of us, none of us are that crazy to be willing to, kind of lay our life down for the message. I mean, he didn't say that, but I think, he kind of alluded to that in a sense that, you know, um, we all admire uh, saints and martyrs and people who are willing to kind of go out there and evangelize and everything. Um, but, are we willing, are we, are we willing to accept that that's the cost, you know? And that's the thing, that's just so hurtful, man. Like him being a father and a husband and just going out there doing his thing. You gotta you admire it. You admire, bro. You can't help that. It's like, man, I wish I had that kind of courage. You know what I'm saying? To really just go out there and speak for the Lord and speak for, you know, the the what ought to be. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, to see that we're capable of doing that, like having the hope, that can happen in this country again, and we can kind of reach back into what were the ideals of, how when this country was formed. And I know a lot of people, especially if you're a minority, try to hit you with the whole thing of, oh, well, we weren't given freedoms and we weren't, whatever, whatever. But here's my thing, man. I think the founding fathers, God blessed them, you know what I'm saying, and gave them uh a mind to think about the future of this country and what could be, right? So when they wrote, say, the Constitution, they thought about the fact that all humans are endowed with inalienable rights, right? That we have, the pursuit of, what is it? The pursuit of happiness, and freedom and everything. I think they knew that. They knew that. They knew this country would struggle to get to a point where we could not see each other based on our race and everything, but based on what we believed about this country and as citizens of this country. You know, I do, and I'm not saying like they were prophets or anything. That's not, what I'm trying to say. I think they wrote the Constitution that way because they knew we would struggle, you know. There's this guy, I forget, you know, um, and the funny thing is, I did a talk with him. Uh, 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 his name is Dr. Sakoksai, and he, he said, he talks about schismogenesis, right? And that's this idea that, sort of I guess in anthropology or in political anthropology, every there's a moment in which the beginning of something starts to have a schism. It starts to
Mm,
have a, disagreement. The culmination of that disagreement was the Civil War, right? But the seeds that were sown were already sown back in the 18th century. You see what I'm saying? With the writing
yeah.
of the Constitution and everything that was going on, and the fact that you had, the northern states and the southern states and everything. And I'm not trying to get into a whole history lesson, but I think here, man, it's like, you know, I think he believed in the good that this country could produce. And I think he was very much he was proud to be American, you know, and
Yeah.
the fact that we are, you know, um, we are a blessed country, you know, despite all the things that have happened here. Um, you know, God has blessed us, and we need to fight for that. I remember somebody said, um, there's nowhere else to go.
That's right.
If this country does not, if bluntly, if America is effed, then there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
If this country fails in its mission or its calling, there is nowhere else to go. The world is, that's it, brother. You know what I mean? And so if anything else, man, like, like I said, he died for a good cause. He died for a good cause, and
And Charlie Kirk would agree with that wholeheartedly.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
do
man.
do do we want to see some of the images?
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
can look at some of the images, man.
but not the video.
Please, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's not going to be. But
Yeah.
so I guess here I'll just preface it and then share my screen. So
Okay.
I want to kind of show some of the like photographic and video footage
Hmm.
of what was happening and kind of how everything was set up.
Hmm.
Um so so um so yeah, so here that's what we'll do. Here I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Um okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I
All right.
just see black. Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Okay, good. All right, here I'm just going to move this right up here. Okay. So, there is Charlie right there in the center. But if you look up here, this is the top of the building that was directly across the way from where Charlie's tent was. This is so over here on in this picture, this is the sniper, basically lined up, aiming, ready to take his shot. And then this over here is a picture of the sniper walking on the roof. So as you can see, this picture was taken from outdoors. This picture was taken from a building across from across the courtyard. And then this is zoomed in. This is that picture zoomed in. The one of the sniper preparing and aiming to make his shot. And then this image of the sniper walking over to the spot that would become his nest, his sniper nest. Um, do we want to Do you guys have anything you want to add into that?
No, no.
Okay.
So this is the video, right?
Yeah. Okay. No. So next thing is something very suspicious that some people who will watch this may have seen, other people may not have seen. So now this is not the video, Shannon. So don't worry.
Okay.
But this was right before the assassination happened. I want for you to watch very closely. Now this video slowed down a bit. I want for you to watch this guy. Are you able to see my mouse cursor
Yes.
in the video? Okay, good. All right, so I want for you to watch this guy really, really closely that's wearing the white hat and that has a cell phone, okay? All right, so I'm gonna play this video. Here, I'll play it again. I just started it over. Now, Nico, what's your impression of this?
So there's a lot of theories on it. Anyone that there's several reasons. So he instantly goes to the brim of his hat, right? And
Hmm.
he kind of does like this, and then he comes over and he does his ear. I think you guys could see it, right? And they're saying a lot of people are speculating that this is a sign. There's actually a guy in a black shirt right here off screen that also does a double hit, but I'm not sure if that guy's been verified as a. Because the videos I've all seen are less than like 10 seconds. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. The guy in white is definitely holding a cell phone, right?
Yes.
So his movements are strange. Could be fixing his hat and just itching his ear, but it's just, you know what I mean? At this time, there's a lot of speculation. The guy in black, has he been ruled out as not being a sign language guy?
Is the guy in black you're talking about the hand that
He's
shows
right
up here
off
in the
screen. You
video?
see the hand show up,
Right there?
and I don't think he has a
Yeah.
cell phone. But he does like a movement as well. There's a lot of people speculating, especially on the shot. Not to get too graphic, from where it entered, it's a very difficult shot. The first thing I said at work when I found out about this, and they arrested the old guy, I said that's a pretty impressive shot from an older gentleman. And I said, and he was about 25 yards away, right? Is what they were saying. I said, with the pistol, I said to hit that shot in one shot would be very impressive. Now it makes sense that this was a rifle from long range.
Yes.
But a lot of people are speculating that if it was someone that was untrained with the rifle and they were shooting for center mass, that they wouldn't know the trajectory of the bullet. They were just kind of aiming out. Um, that's not an easy shot. I don't know if either of you guys are hunters or if you guys have no, I know you guys don't have any military experience or anything like that. That's not an easy shot. This is not something a layman can do easily. This
Now
isn't
now
something. Go
now
ahead.
now now, now Nico, have you heard the speculation that that Charlie was wearing a plate over his chest?
And that's why I was about to say
Okay.
they're speculating that Charlie Kirk had a like Kevlar, and
Yeah,
that's why
we're
they,
like actually something stronger than Kevlar.
yeah, the yeah. So to detour any kind of penetration from bullets or anything like that, right?
Yeah, like
And
yeah,
I
yep.
saw the theory with the hole here, and then it ends up. That's his microphone, by the way. I don't know why people are confused on that. So if you look over here before it, he has a tiny little clip-on microphone, and then when he's hit, it bounces off. That's all that is. I don't know why people are so confused on that. He has a little clip-on thing right here, and then when
Hmm.
he gets hit, the hole didn't move, nothing happened. It's the force. You literally see it. That just comes off. So I don't know what the conspiracy guys are coming out of the woods. I don't know about this guy in black making the things. I don't know if we ruled him out. The guy in white though is definitely needs to be questioned. In my opinion, from everything I know, that those are strange movements. Could
Hmm.
be coincidence, could be nothing. Could just be fixing his hat, and then I mean, he's just standing there, but he's not almost even looking. Play it one more time, Shane. This is not a natural thing. So he has his phone there, right?
Yeah,
Look at
just like
him.
going like
He's not even looking at Charlie Kirk.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is he's like touching his hat, then he touches his ear, then he touches
But
his hat, touches
he
his ear,
looks
you know?
away when he makes the movements. Like he has his phone sitting right there, right? And then he does the move, like he's looking at Charlie Kirk. Now he's look.
Yeah,
Very strange. In my opinion, that guy needs to be questioned. The guy in black,
big time.
still on the fence on. I don't know. He makes a couple of gestures. That could be anything though. This is all speculation. Regardless, very difficult shot to make. I don't think people are giving enough respect to the difficulty of the shot. They're saying that this could be a layman, and then they don't realize the bullet trajectory from up high to down low and all the stuff. That that is a precision shot. And usually people would go for mass, right? You would go
Yeah.
for here. And if he was a high powered rifle, it would be hard to stop that no matter what you were wearing.
Right. Well,
Um,
and the speculation a lot of people are saying is it may have hit him in the chest, but then like slid up to his neck.
I don't think so. Just my
Okay.
opinion. I think that was a precision shot.
N-
I
Now
don't think
now
this is a layman. I think this is someone that knew how to shoot. And the bullets, have you guys heard? And I don't have any evidence of this. I read a small article right before we came on. There's writing on the bullets. Did the FBI come
Mhm.
out with that?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Kind of a
that I think is
copycat
still
situation.
yeah, so a lot of information is still coming out, and it looks like there was like left wing type of writing on the bullets, but nobody I don't think anything has been confirmed for sure yet.
Okay.
Um
Just
yeah,
number one, the guy in white is suspicious. I mean, that he needs to definitely be questioned. Could be nothing.
Mm.
now this is the next interesting thing. I'm trying to move this thing so that the here I'm gonna unshare and then I'm gonna reshare.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I just unshared it, right?
Mhm.
Um okay. All right, now reshare. Here we go. Okay, and that didn't really do anything. Okay, so this is Nico's boy George Zinn, who was the older man that was originally arrested that yesterday afternoon they were saying, or at least on social media the kind of rumor was that he was a suspect in the crime, and then he ended up, I guess he got a question and then released. But so this is the video of him being arrested by the cops because of the scene that he was making there. So here. And George Zinn is wearing blue up there, see?
Hey, let him in! You disgrace those garbage, you must go! Hey, leave it.
Yeah, so that's him right there. And in this case, there is a lot of speculation. Here, I'm going to unshare my screen. Um, and oops, there we go. Okay. So in that case, there was a lot of speculation too. Because there really isn't any very good footage of what George Zinn was doing that made the cops want to arrest him. What a lot of eyewitnesses have been saying, or have said, is that George Zinn was out there like yelling something, yelling something like "arrest me," or yelling something like talking about shooting or something like that. So it's very odd that we have this guy when
Mhm.
after a shooting like this, the natural human instinct that everybody has is to hit the ground and get the heck out of there. Yeah,
Mm.
Which most people
that's
did.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You can see that's what everybody does in a situation like this. And it's just it's very odd whenever you have people in a situation like this who don't have the instinct to like to hit the ground and get out of there, and their instinct is to try to seek attention somehow, to scream
Mm.
something crazy or something like that. And it's fascinating to me that you have that guy, George Zinn, and for all we know, he was adjudicated by the cops and then released. So
Mhm.
I'm not making any claims here or anything. I'm just saying it's odd that you would have somebody like that whose first instinct would be to make a scene
Mhm.
when everybody else's instinct, the natural human instinct, is to survive, right? Hit the ground, get the heck out of there. And he and so the thing I'd like to draw a parallel to is in the Kennedy assassination back in 1963. You had a bunch of people that made scenes right after the assassination. You had people hit the ground that were having seizures, and then you had this group of there's a photograph. Just Google the JFK tramp photograph, and they look like three or four homeless guys, and they were walking around making a big scene too. And so immediate so the cops were focused on them, on like the people that had seizures, getting paramedics there and everything. The people that had seizures got up and disappeared, when and it just seems like in situations like this, when you have people that are making a scene, seeking a bunch of attention, that the cops are going to have to deal with and everything, it just gives off the vibe of them being a living, breathing decoy to try to get everyone to focus on them, so that whoever carried out the crime can get out of there, can get away, and can make their escape.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
so,
I
and the
mean,
thing is, I know this is all like tinfoil hat level stuff, but these are all things that we need to be thinking about, that we need to be talking about, um, because at the end of the day, justice has got to be served, and we have to know what happened here, not just for our own edification, but for the edification of Charlie's family, and for the edification of our country,
yeah,
because we do not want for there to be a massive question mark surrounding this thing.
yeah,
We don't want there to be a bunch of runaway speculation, and whoever's in charge of investigating, whether it's the local detectives or it's the FBI, or whoever, we don't want them not to pursue something, and then down the road it's just a big question mark, and then we'll all be asking ourselves, if only they would have pursued that line of evidence, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
In my thing, so with the shooter, going back to it, the reason that this could be someone that, dude, that is not an easy shot at 200 yards. I, they keep saying
Well,
it's a college kid. It could be if he was, let's say it's a bolt action rifle, 200 yards, and let's say he's aiming for the head, not to be too graphic. At 200 yards, you're looking at, I don't know the wind factors or anything like that, but let's say this guy does go to the range. He can control his breathing. He's not doing trigger jerks. I imagine this is his first time shooting at a live target. Not to get too
or
graphic. If he
or this guy's a professional.
Possibly, but if he's aiming for the head, and I mean, you got to account, you're looking at a roughly a 4 to 5 inch drop in the bullet, and wind factors could be another. I don't know the wind factors. I don't know anything about it. Could be another 3 inches roughly. I mean, if you do the math of where this hit, that's about on point. There's so many factors. I
Now,
do. The
okay,
FBI's got it.
question.
This could be anything.
All right, question. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a map of the area. So the shots were fired from up here where this white box is. And then the shots were fired across the dotted line. This is where Charlie Kirk was, where the circle is. And so from the box to the circle, you're looking at according to this map, you're looking at approximately 145 yards.
So not quite
Um
200. So your drop would
yeah,
be
so
less
yeah,
than what
so
I
so
said.
so as far as feet goes, you're looking at about 450 feet according to this map. Um Now the
That
thing is, now from the way it looks, the that where Charlie Kirk was, it looks like it goes downhill. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like these are like rows of grass, and it gradually and the elevation drops here.
It does.
This building looks like it's probably maybe 2 or 3 stories, or actually maybe this building is 2 stories taller than this building here. And it looks like this little triangle here is lower. That might only be like maybe 1 or 2 stories off the ground there. So you can see how the I mean this gives us a pretty good lay of the land. And then notice behind the building where the assassin was is a parking lot. So the getaway would be
What
very
would that
easy.
what would
What?
the parking lot what would
Well, what that does is that would allow the shooter a quick exit back here, especially if there's a bunch, especially with all the chaos ensuing in this courtyard here.
Definitely a
And,
planned hit because
what?
he got rid of the rifle right in the woods over there. He threw the rifle away in a towel, and
Yeah.
he knew that people would be scattering. And I mean, he walked away. He didn't run. These are the things that make me believe at that distance, you're looking at it probably more of a 3-inch drop, not maybe a 4-inch drop. I don't know wind factor still, but as soon as that, I mean, you're talking about 0.3 seconds from when he pulled that trigger, Charlie Kirk was hit.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, dude, if this was someone aiming for the head, uh, let's say the wind's 10 miles per hour. Like I said, that could vary at another 3 inches. At that drop, I thought it was closer to 200 yards. At 145 yards, 3-inch drop roughly. I don't know how far down he was because that grass looks like it goes down even further.
Yeah. It looks like it kind of goes down like stair
like
steps, sort of.
it kind of looks like it's almost like a not an amphitheater,
Yeah. Well, that's a good way, like a small amphitheater, like an outdoor
kind of.
small amphitheater, and it looks like it's grass and
So I don't know how.
steps going down.
I don't know how far the distance down that was, but let's just say 3 to 4 inches to be safe. And then factor in the wind, that would be pretty close. Well, you guys can't tell distance on here, but you can see from my face, that would be pretty close if the guy was aiming. You know what I mean? In the drop, dude, that is not a shot. I don't even care that hunters and people that go there, that's a hard shot. That's not easy, man.
But Nico, I mean, at the same time, you know as well as I do that there are a lot of different scopes and different things that you can mount on top of a rifle.
I don't give a
What's the thing
fuck,
called
dude.
that has a little dot in there? It's got like the little red or green dot, and it's got like the little screen. It's like a little thing that you look through, and
Trust me.
as long as you've got that thing dialed in properly, you're good to go.
No. No, you're not. Not shooting at
Yes,
a live target, not at 200 yards.
he
No,
was
you're not.
stationary.
Does not matter. Not with wind factor, not with drop, not untrained, not shooting at live targets, not controlled breathing. This isn't a paper target. Absolutely
But
not.
but
This is not an
Nico,
amateur.
but Nico, also look at this too. You have all these buildings, right? You're firing within a courtyard. So you're not going to you're not going to have a lot of wind blowing around in there. Now listen, I have one more video that I'd like to show you guys. And this is the thing that I thought was kind of the strangest, the creepiest thing. I got a really weird vibe off of this thing. And I'd like to know what you guys think. So, all right, so we are done with this one. Oh, here, let me move this thing down. Okay. Here it is. Okay, so this video was recorded right after the assassination happened.
Veterans and men across the country are secretly reversing tooth decay and gum.
Get through this
Avoid
thing.
these 3 foods like the plague.
Whole milk or almond milk?
Neither.
Sorry,
What milk
guys.
do you guys like to?
Okay, here.
For arresting a guy by the name of George Zim. Yeah, I know the guy. I don't think he did it. I think they arrested the wrong guy. I think whoever did it was a good shooter, a sharp shooter. It was one shot right.
Can you guys hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Directly to the heart, and we need to find out who did this. I think there should be a research completely done that took place hours, maybe a day before anything went on. Who could be there and pull that trigger and do it? And I don't think it was George Zim. He was poor, broke. He maybe was on medication, a little bit loony boon, maybe a perfect person to pick and say that did it, but I don't think he did it at all.
So at this point, but did you see him taken into custody? Did you see him with any kind of thing in his hand, any device in his hand or anything like that?
Yeah, I saw when they actually put the handcuffs behind his back.
Okay.
I followed them.
All right,
when
we're
they
going to go
took
to
him
Jason
the
Chaffetz.
trooper car,
You know, obviously.
Okay, so the only reason I wanted for you guys to see that. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, the main thing I wanted to do was ask you guys now. When a news anchor of any kind is interviewing somebody, you know, asking them about what they just saw, you know, asking an eyewitness to recount something, do they, when they're answering the question, is it normal for them to stare directly into the camera like that? When you have somebody that's being asked a question by a news anchor, like on the scene right there, and the news anchor's like, so I want for you to explain to me, what did you see at this event, or whatever, and the news anchor puts the microphone you know, in front of the person's mouth that they're asking, that they're eliciting a reply from. Is it common for that person to reply directly to the news anchor, or is it common for them to stare directly at the screen and reply that way?
I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, you usually see them talking to the news anchor, you know,
Talking
look
to the news
at,
anchor, that's right.
mm,
And so just this struck me as very, very weird,
mm,
because you know, that guy barely even blinked. That
mm,
guy's sitting there like, and that guy's saying, well, it couldn't have been this George Zinn guy. You know,
mm.
this George Zinn guy, he's got a few screws loose, or whatever, and he's just going on and on and on and on about it. And I don't know, it just makes me think this is another thing that kind of struck me as being like an intentional, a possible intentional decoy
Mm,
to try to sow more chaos and confusion.
mhm,
And I'm not accusing this guy of anything. I'm just saying it just strikes me as being odd
mhm,
that that you would have somebody like that whose inclination would be to directly stare at the camera and answer the questions there, instead of turn to the news anchor and make eye contact with them and explain to them.
mhm,
If that makes sense. Like, the news anchor's not staring directly into the camera whenever they're asking the guy a question.
mhm,
The news anchor's looking at him to ask him the question, and it's typical protocol, it's typical procedure for the person that the news anchor is, the guy that's being interviewed, for him to be looking at the news anchor and reply directly to the news anchor, rather than stare directly into the camera.
mhm.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think I'm off on this, or do you think that?
No, I don't think we're gonna know much until we get some more stuff. Now that the FBI is involved, they're gonna do, dude. I'm telling you, I think we're gonna learn some shit. There's that guy. Maybe he is an amateur. He's put 100 hours on the range. I'm telling you right now that this guy knows how to shoot.
Can I tell you what I think? I think this guy was a professional, and
hundred percent.
that's and you see, to me, so I'm personally not as interested in the accuracy of his shot. The thing that fascinates me more than anything is the fact that he was able to make a quick getaway, and was just able to slip out without leaving any kind of trace, except for his weapon. If Think about this, if he never would have discarded his rifle, and he would have just taken his rifle with him and hopped in his car and drove away,
You
or
don't.
whatever, then,
Professionals don't do that. You always leave the fucking rifle. You're
okay.
never taking the rifle with you.
Well, you know what? I defer to your expertise, since your last name ends with a vowel.
You would never take the rifle with you. That's exactly what you would do. The positioning was there. The getaway exit was there. You ditched the fucking rifle. We have not shit on this guy. We have a blurry ass picture and a couple fucking cameras that picked him up along the way. And dude, do not display the accuracy of that shot. You could let me make that shot 10 times. I'll never hit it fucking once. That is not
Well,
an
you're a
easy
bad,
shot.
but you're a bad shot, though.
Okay. Well, there you go. Dude, I'm telling you, people are downplaying that shot. That was impressive. It was an impressive shot. He's either the luckiest motherfucker on the planet,
Dude,
or go
dude,
ahead.
I'm telling you, the thing that piques my interest is the fact that the guy was able to get away.
It's
and
planned. It was
really,
planned. You don't just get
yeah,
away like
and
that.
really left no trace. And this is another thing too. There's an airport not very far away from. I think I heard it was like it's either 5 miles or a 5 minute drive, one of the two. Which I guess if you're driving 100 miles an hour, that would be. Or no, my math is completely wrong on that. Scrap that. Um, but there's an airport really close to this school, and the typical procedure for a mass crime event like this. I don't want to say I don't want to take a chance of YouTube getting angry. But in a situation like this, the common protocol is to shut down airports that are within a certain radius. Well, apparently that airport was not shut down, and planes continued flying in and flying out. So what if that guy was able to get to the airport and then was curried away to another country?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
To me, that's what a professional would do, isn't it? And this is the thing. Because we are alive, and Charlie Kirk is not. Charlie Kirk has already gone on to his eternal reward. I think these are the types of questions we have a responsibility to ask, and to continue asking, and to continue putting out there until they can be disproven. And once they are adequately disproven, then we move on and we ask other questions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, because another thing moving forward that we need to be thinking about is, if whoever did this, or whoever ordered this, or whoever was involved in this, if they are able to get away with it, and if everybody that was involved in this is not brought to swift justice, then this can and probably will happen again. And we cannot allow that to happen in this country. This country is not in a this country is not in a condition where it can handle many more of these types of situations, whether they are left wing or whether they are right wing influencers or
Mm-hmm.
political leaders.
Yes.
If
So
there's one more, there will be violence.
yeah, and that is something we do not want. If there is violence, we all lose. Every single one of us lose.
Yeah.
Correct.
Amen.
So
Well, boys.
Yeah. Well, what is the prayer that they say? Grant unto him eternal rest, O Lord, right?
yeah,
Is that the way that goes? So
and for the repose
yeah,
of his soul.
for the repose of his soul, man.
Yeah,
But,
This country needs a lot of prayers. And like I said, I'll continue to pray for his family and his loved ones,
yeah.
and for the uh, countries to have guidance in the direction that it goes, and that maybe more of us can have empathy for these situations. Let's hope that we can mend and use this as a way to get closer, not more division. But it doesn't look that way. So
yeah,
Yeah, and at the end of the day, one last thing, that's what we have to do is we can't assume the worst in even those that we disagree with.
yeah,
We have to assume the best in them.
yeah.
And this is the thing. I've said this many times and I'll say it again. To me, liberals and progressives and left wingers, whatever you want to call them, they are people that God created with a very, very strong sense of justice.
Mm,
And something I believe about them is that the devil and demons pervert that sense of justice that God created them with. And so the solution is, at the end of the day, is not to pose the most rational arguments to them, and the solution is not to try to beat them into ideological submission. The solution is ultimately for them to be changed by the gospel, you know,
mhm.
yeah, yeah. Amen.
because as oh, what's his name, Dr. E. Michael Jones says, sin makes you stupid.
Man, amen. No disagreement there, brother.
Yeah.
Mm. All right,
Okay, you
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, I've said everything I need to say.
Okay.
Nico, do you have any last?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on what Shane said. I couldn't agree more. I
Yeah.
think that they're delusional egalitarian pieces of shit, and that if we help, just try to understand them. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
No, I agree with everything he said, and this is a time for healing, not division. And in all seriousness, um, let's hope that it goes the way that it should, guys.
Yeah.
Let's
Man.
pray
Okay,
on it.
brothers. Well, you know, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, man.
Yes.
And
And thank you.
yeah, thanks for all the courageous and hard work, man. It's much appreciated. You know.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Talk to you
All right.
guys on
Love
the
you
flip
guys.
side, bro.
Yeah.
All right, peace.